What's up, everybody? Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY. We're live on a Tuesday morning. Philly, always presented by Bet Parks and Central City Toyota. Today is not that I wasn't happy yesterday, but I was still kind of in shock over what had happened the day before. I mean, you always draw it up, and it's like you win the Super Bowl, and you're like, yeah, I won the Super Bowl. Yesterday I was kind of still in shock of what happened in the game. And today, after leaving the air yesterday and possibly reading everything on the internet, watching every video talking about the Eagles up until this moment live at 8:01 on Tuesday morning, I'm just happy. Now it's just so much fun. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. Everybody nationally agrees. The Eagles are not only great, they not only crushed and embarrassed Pat Mahomes, they embarrassed the Chiefs. But they have a young roster. Eagles aren't going anywhere. So, and just to be able to kind of sit back and hear everybody say that is the best feeling in the world as a sports fan. I can honestly say this, outside of family moments, obviously your children being born and other important family moments, this is probably the happiest that most of us can be if we're big Philadelphia sports fans. 2008, Phillies won the World Series, was incredible. 2017, 2018 calendar year, Eagles win the first Super Bowl. It was like pie in the sky. I didn't come back down for months. I didn't care about the draft. I didn't care about free agency. I had no idea. I was just, so it's like Amazon love. You meet the girl and it's like, oh my God, she's perfect. She's smart. She has money. She's beautiful. This is the best thing ever. And then that eventually wears off. But this is, whether the Eagles go back to the Super Bowl next year or they win the Super Bowl or they're back in 2 years, this much is clear. The Eagles are here and they're here to stay. And it's the best feeling in the world. Right now, 2 days removed from a Super Bowl win, continuing to just like take it all in. Like, yeah, we are the best. We are the best. Oh, now Eagles fans are great and we care about our team and we're so passionate. Now we're not these animals. And that won't last forever, but it's the best feeling in the world. Shout out to everybody that's watching live on YouTube, as you can every morning live at 8 o'clock. Get involved in the chat, our Mad Chatters. Good morning to K-Red and everybody else that jumps on every morning. But you don't need to watch live. You can watch at your convenience. Maybe you get to work and you get a little pocket where it's like 10:30 to 11:30. You can tune in at your convenience on YouTube. That's always available. And our podcast is always available as well. Audio-only podcast, wherever you get your podcast, Philly with John Marks. Please leave us a nice 5-star review and subscribe on YouTube. Smash the subscribe button. Like, comment, please. And we appreciate everybody out there. Glenn Foley's going to join us coming up at 8:25. I know people are waiting with bated breath for my game balls for the Super Bowl. I wasn't ready to do it yesterday because I had to thoughtfully go through the process and not be emotional about it. We'll do game balls from the Super Bowl coming up in about 10 minutes. But this game was decided, the Super Bowl was decided, and it's not complicated at all. And it's really kind of the foundation for the Eagles 2024 season. It's not complicated. The Eagles aren't a complicated team. They run the ball, they have a great offensive line, and they play defense. And they have talent outside of that. It wasn't complicated. That's how the Eagles won the Super Bowl. They didn't need Saquon Barkley in the Super Bowl to go off and have this amazing day because the defense was great. We'll get into more of that coming up in game balls. But this game was decided on the offensive line for the Eagles, but really, more importantly, on the defensive line for the Eagles. It was decided on the offensive line for the Chiefs. And I felt like rewatching, and I watched a lot of the game yesterday, and it's also a lot of the analysis and what the experts are saying, and you're watching videos. And I have to ask this, because a lot of people are beating up on Pat Mahomes and saying, "Oh, see that he's not the GOAT." Like, all right, fine, and you're right. And Tom Brady has never looked like that in the Super Bowl ever. Pat Mahomes, when he was running for his life against Tampa when they lost that Super Bowl, he still had a great game. It's just that he was running for his life so bad that he didn't have enough. The team didn't have enough. Pat Mahomes is terrible on Sunday. I don't blame Pat Mahomes. I blame Andy Reid because the Chiefs' offensive line was not good. They had holes on two spots, the left tackle and then an interior line on the guard. So they tried a couple different players at left tackle. They moved Joe Thuney outside the tackle, which means they had to replace the guard. They moved some places around or whatever. But outside of that, you're in the Super Bowl. I'm not going to blame Andy Reid because your offensive line's a mess. But the way that they came out and they tried to operate on offense, especially when it didn't work and there were no adjustments made, I felt like I was watching Philadelphia Eagles head coach Andy Reid. Because Andy, for as good as a coach as he was and a culture setter and everything else, in big games in Philadelphia, he struggled with exactly what he struggled with in the Super Bowl. And it may not have mattered. Let's make that clear, because they were just outmanned on the offensive line. But dropping back and running essentially the same play over and over and over again, maybe in hindsight he would change what he did, but his offensive line wasn't good. It wasn't good leading up to this. I can't imagine they thought it was a positive matchup for them. But you're dropping back Pat Mahomes, and you're dropping him back, and you're saying, like, more or less, hey, Pat, you got to go out and win us this game. And he wasn't able to do it. Constant pressure without blitzing the entire game. He was pressured, and it slowed down late when they put their backups in. But it was over 50% of the time he was under pressure without the Eagles blitzing. You're not going to win that game. The fact that Andy Reid didn't even try to run the ball early, here's in hindsight what he should have done. And why they didn't adjust in game, I have no idea. When it was clear that the wide receivers weren't getting open, which they weren't because there was no blitzing that was going on, when it was clear that's what was happening, I mean, don't you have to just dump the ball off? I can think of so many games that Tom Brady was just throwing it to James White. It's like, hey, listen, the wide receivers aren't getting open. I'm not getting time. Throw it to James White. Dump it off from the backfield. Run the ball. Even if we're getting 2 or 3 yards a clip, the biggest issue with the Chiefs on Sunday was they were fairly predictable. They weren't even trying to run the ball, and they were more or less running the same play almost every time. Guess what you don't want to do if you have a disadvantage in pass protection? Make yourself one-dimensional and predictable. And that's what Andy Reid did. I felt like I was watching Andy Reid, Back to the Future, Philadelphia Eagle head coach Andy Reid. And give the Eagles a lot of credit. Give Vic Fangio a lot of credit. His game plan that he came out with was sensational. It also worked. He also had the players to do it. But getting pressure out of 3 or 4 man rush and not having the blitz and getting that much pressure, game over. The game was never going to be won because they couldn't protect Pat Mahomes. And also the way they rushed him and they bottled him up and they didn't really let him get outside of the tackles and be able to scramble around. It was just, it was one of the most dominating defensive performances that I've ever seen in a Super Bowl. Flat out. 85 Bears or like whatever. In the modern day NFL against Pat Mahomes, who was being discussed as a GOAT, to be able to come out and 34-22, they should take those 22 points off the board. It was really like a 6-point game by the Chiefs, a 10-point game by the Chiefs. They took the foot off the gas, they put the backups in, and then they're just throwing the ball. Andy Reid's effect, though, was also felt in the Eagles Super Bowl. So this isn't to just totally crap on Andy Reid, but he was outcoached, and it was the Andy Reid Eagles head coach on Sunday. But Andy Reid that came in here, and I can't just give him total credit, but him coming in here, the Andy Reid philosophy was, I'm going to build on the offensive and defensive lines. Man, look at the Eagles' offensive and defensive lines. I don't know why I hadn't seen this stat before. Their average height is 6'6", and what was like 330 or 340? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. And the Chiefs defensive line is very good. And they're still good. They were very good against Saquon Barkley. But like with an offensive line like that, that's the Eagles offensive line. And then look at their defensive line. They've always paid a ton of money for the defensive line and their offensive line. When they won the Super Bowl in 2017, all those guys are getting paid, right? And all these young players right now, they're going to get paid. It's just a matter of time. But the offensive line, defensive line, which is what Andy Reid brought to Philadelphia. I don't know why it's not like that with every organization, why they don't prioritize and spend their money on the lines. They don't. They get the sexy picks, the skill players. Instead of the, Lane Johnson, who at the time it's like, oh, well, who wants an offensive tackle? he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and look at what he's done in his career as an Eagle. It's unbelievable. And that was Andy Reid, but it's also Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie came in when he bought the team, and he said, hey, I want to model this franchise after the San Francisco 49ers and the West Coast offense, because that's what was working. That's what won championships. And he brought in John Gruden as a young offensive coordinator from the Bill Walsh, Mike Holmgren tree. And he had a head coach in Ray Rhodes that was the defensive coordinator on championship teams in San Francisco. Now, it didn't work out, but the idea was right. It's like, hey, let's look at something that's successful and let's model it after that. So then he hires Andy Reid. And Andy Reid says, we're going to build in the line. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And that became an organizational philosophy long after Andy Reid was gone. And like, I'm not going to give Andy Reid credit. Like, oh, because like Jeffrey Lurie obviously realizes that this is a very smart thing to do. And this is how you operate your organization, as is Howie Roseman. So they just continued what Andy Reid started here 25 years ago. And that is why the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. And this segment of the program brought to you by Glatt Hair Restoration, glatthairmctr.com, 610-980-4000. Not happy with my product. Tyler Zuli, good morning to you. Not happy with I don't have my preferred product. I can't find it. So I had to use this other stuff, and it's just it doesn't style as well as I like. But it's not looking bad this morning.
See, that's why you just start doing what I do, and where that as soon as the hair gets too long, you just put the hat on every day.
Well, so I had the where is it? So I'm wearing the Super Bowl jacket from Super Bowl 52, and I also have the matching hat.
John Marks, your team just won the Super Bowl.
Where are you going now? I'm going to spend $1,000 at the team store. And
break my bank.
And I did. Everybody wants a shirt. Everybody wants a jacket. Oh, you're not going to offer to give me money because you think that I'm rich. I'm not rich. So it's matching. But when you put promos out, and I don't pay attention to what people say, and I don't know if they say anything. When you put promos out, if I'm wearing a hat, a lot of times it's like, all right, do I need to have the winter hat and I look like a punk out there or whatever? But anyway, so that's why I didn't wear it today. We're now removed like 36 hours from the game. What the hell was Andy Reid doing on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. And I think Vic Fangio deserves a lot of credit. The front four deserves a lot of credit. They schematically, they did exactly what they wanted to do pretty much just about every snap of definitively of the first half and probably through the third quarter. And then, you as you brought up, those 16 points in the fourth quarter, whatever. I mean, it was an 18-point win. It might as well have been a 78-point win. But just a couple of thoughts here. Next Gen Stats had this in the first half of the game. The Eagles defense played a cover 4 on almost 64% of the Chiefs' possessions. It was the second highest rate in a game by any defense over the last 7 seasons. Patrick Mahomes against those cover 4 plays, 4 for 8, 23 yards, and the pick 6. Vic Fangio clearly had an idea in his head as to what he wanted to do, and he believed his front four could get home against an offensive line, as you mentioned, that had some moving parts that, Jawan Taylor didn't look very good. Joe Thuney is moving from interior to the outside, didn't look particularly good. Everybody is going to point to the fact that they didn't blitz a single time and still had some of the biggest pressure rates of the season for this defense. It's unbelievable. Just a couple of extra things. Mahomes' pressure rate in the first half was higher than his completion percentage in the first half. So, I could read you all of these stats. Numerically, it just tells you how good the Eagles' defense was, how good the front four was, getting home by itself. Milton Williams, Jalix Hunt, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Jalen Carter. The rotations were excellent. The guys looked fresh, and they looked like they were the better unit, not just by a little bit, not just by a lot. They were the dominating unit. They were the dominating unit between the offense and defensive line. And as you bring up, this team has successfully been a staple of good football for probably the better part now of 20 years, with intermittent bad years, but more good years than bad years, because of the fact that they secure the trenches. It's not the sexy pick. It's not the receiver position. It's not a corner. Now, it was a corner this year, but it's not a corner. It's not a receiver. It's not a running back. But they have depth at the O-line. They have depth at the D-line every single season, and it helps them win more times than not.
Yeah, real football guys like Howie and me and some others. Baldy, that's what you do. You build in the trenches. When you look at me, you think trenches. Big fat offensive lineman. All right, let's give out some game balls here. Foley's going to join us in about 10 minutes. Let's give out some game balls, all right? And I'm going to start with Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. And you can give it to everybody on the defense, but I don't want to sell out like that. Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. 2 Eagles draft picks. Not high draft picks, not first-round draft picks, not top 10 draft picks. 2 mid-round Eagles draft picks that are success stories and are world champions. And they dominated in the Super Bowl with 2.5 and 2 sacks. And that Milton Williams strip sack, brother, man, you talk about like a game where it's like, that is it. Boom, this game is over. And I wish them well, because the likelihood is that one, if not both, are going to be in a different franchise, are going to be in a different city next season. They're going to get paid. They probably were getting paid before this game, and they're getting paid right now. When you win a Super Bowl and you play like that on that level in that game, you normally cash in. So could I see one or both or one coming back? Potentially. Could I see both coming back? No, I can't. So Milton Williams and Josh Sweat, game balls. Quickly, Tyler, who would you bring back, Milton Williams or Josh Sweat?
If I had to say, it would be Milton Williams. And there's it's you know my long-standing love.
They're thin at end, though, man.
And I know that. And the reason that I say it would be Milton Williams is because I do believe that the edge rush position, while not like super, super talented, immediate, day one impacts type of guys in the draft, I think it is a deep edge rush position group where you could theoretically get a eventual starter at 32.
Josh Sweat's going to make more money, too, because he's an end.
And that's the thing, too.
Yeah.
I think numerically speaking, Josh Sweat's going to probably get in. He's going to get 15 a year easy.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe more. And so I think if you know how much I love Milton Williams, I'll take that aside. I think just from a numbers standpoint, from a rotational standpoint, if they're bringing one back, I would lean towards it probably being Milton Williams.
I think they could lose both.
I do, too. I think the likeliest scenario is both are gone.
Yeah. Game ball, Jalen Hurts. Duh. He won the MVP. This dude was disrespected. It was debated locally for years. Nationally, he became the #1 topic of hot takers out there all year long, leading right up to the Super Bowl. They've moved the goalposts on him so many times, and all this dude has done is won a Super Bowl, been to 2 Super Bowls, and he outplayed Pat Mahomes in both Super Bowls. Game ball, Jalen Hurts. Nick Sirianni. I fired him this season, as many people did. Locally, nationally, he was ridiculed. He was called a clown. He yells at fans. He yells at his players. He's been to the playoffs all 4 seasons with 2 Super Bowls and 1 championship. I don't know how it works sometimes when I look at him, but it works, and there's no denying that. And I don't expect it not to continue to work. Players play for him. They love him. All right, next game ball. I know why it works. Howie Roseman. I mean, give me a break. Look at the roster. We talked about it earlier. Offensive line, defensive line, wide receivers, Saquon Barkley, and not just a great defensive line, a young stud defense. The first round and the second round draft pick, rookies, played like incredible veterans in the Super Bowl. It's really unbelievable. It's almost not believable. Remember when Chip sent him to the basement? We came back upstairs, and he's won 2 Super Bowls, been to a third. His fingerprints are all over the best roster in football. Howie Roseman, game ball. Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. Coordinators last year, bad. Coordinators this year, good. What a disaster last year. And God, like the difference between Vic Fangio and what they had with Adai and Matt Patricia, and players that came in and could really play, but just a true professional, one of the greats in the league. And what was last year was one of the biggest issues with the Eagles. This year, they're the #1 defense in freaking football. It's unbelievable. And Kellen Moore. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Kellen Moore is the best schemer or the best play caller in football, but keep it simple, stupid. This isn't the West Coast offense. This isn't a Sean McVay scheme. This is the keep it simple, stupid offense. After the bye week, they went to, we're going to run the ball. And we're going to run the ball with Saquon Barkley and our offensive line and our great defense. No frills, just win. And they won. And one thing with the Super Bowl, Kellen Moore didn't give up on the run game. And Saquon Barkley only had 57 yards, I think, on 25 carries. But the fact that he didn't give up on the running game, the Chiefs were so worried about Saquon breaking one off. Their game plan was, we're not going to let Saquon Barkley beat us, Jalen Hurts is going to have to beat us. Well, Jalen was doing that, but the threat of Saquon still running the ball, they couldn't stop defending the run like they were. And if you go away from the run, like Andy Reid didn't even try to run, now you're one-dimensional. Jalen Hurts isn't the same type of quarterback. So a great job, even in not having success, a great job by Kellen Moore in continuing to go to the run with Saquon Barkley. Game ball, Saquon Barkley, for that reason. He didn't have a great game, but the worry of Saquon Barkley and the home run, the Chiefs were so concerned with that, it opened up everything else. And he is always there. He's a pro, man. He's a pro. Wasn't an issue when they didn't go for the rushing title. Remember after he dropped the ball in that Atlanta game and he came out afterwards and he owned it, and you could tell how much that upset him. God, he's the best. Saquon Barkley is the best. Finally, Jeffrey Lurie, the best owner in Philadelphia sports history, period. 2 Super Bowls in 8 years, 3 Super Bowl championships. And were the Chiefs a great organization? Was that a great ownership before they got Pat Mahomes? Everybody in that city and around the league would have told you, well, not a great ownership. Solid, but not great. Now they're a great franchise because they got Pat Mahomes. This Jeffrey Lurie's 2 Super Bowls have been with different coaches and totally different teams, different quarterbacks. Backup quarterback, second-round draft pick quarterback. Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, the constants, Jeffrey Lurie, the final game ball of the season. All right, so Glenn Foley, G-Foles and you P-holes. He's coming up next. His thoughts on the Super Bowl. Is he coming up to the parade, which is coming up on Friday now? Glenn Foley, his thoughts on what happened on Sunday. That's coming up next. Philly, John Marks, PHLY. Why? As Nancy Kerrigan said once, why? Glad hair restoration, that's why. Man, listen, I have a friend whose wife just started the vitamin supplementation with Glad Hair Restoration. Yeah, I know when you hear Glad Hair Restoration, you're thinking like, oh yeah, Johnny Marks had hair restoration procedure, blah, 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 blah. It's not just about hair restoration, ladies and gentlemen. It's about hair loss. It's about what you need during your stage of hair loss, right? Some guys shave their head and they say, I'm fine with that. No, I'm fine with it too. It looks great. On some people, other people want to keep their hair like me. I look scary with a shaved head. I didn't want to look scary. I could have done it, but why not have my hair, which I do with Glad Hair Restoration? So I mentioned the vitamin supplementation. This is a really hot item right now in slowing down hair loss, shedding, making your hair fuller and thicker. You'll notice that it's fuller and thicker. Your nails will be growing you're like, wow, like my nails are a lot stronger and they're growing much quicker. Same thing's happening with your hair, right? This is one of the things for women and men, but for women, it is something that really works well. Hair restoration, like I mentioned, PRP and stem cell restoration. Glad Hair can help you during all stages of hair loss. So, Glad Hair Restoration by Morgenstern Medical. Every patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation, and they're your advocate from the first phone call to the last follow-up visit. They're looking out for your interests, right? So they're going to tell you, shouldn't get a hair restoration yet. Wait a couple years. Let's slow it down. Here's what we can do to slow down the hair loss. Bald is now optional. Contact me on social media, folks. Email me at John Marks Media, JONMARKS Media. That's it, at gmail.com as well. If you have any questions, if you want to see before and after pictures of me, or if you just want me to hand you off to my friends over at Glad Hair Restoration, or go to the website gladhair.com, mctr.com, or call them at 610-980-4000. 610-980-4000. Hoo-ah. All right, Parks Casino, my casino of choice. Concerts, comedy, MMA, and boxing. MMA and boxing in person. Tyler, have you been to a live boxing or MMA match before?
I have not.
We got to go up. We got to do a show road trip and go up to one of them. I love live boxing. Awesome. Live MMA is amazing. Their Excite Center, the state-of-the-art Excite Center, is an amazing place to see concerts, comedy, MMA, and boxing. Thousands of slots, live table games, state-of-the-art sports book, beautiful poker room, and a collection of award-winning restaurants. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Pennsylvania's #1 casino. Tickets are on sale now for these headliners. Scotty McCreery from American Idol, March 7th. Magician Michael Carbonaro, March 8th. Country superstar Lee Brice, March 22nd. Comedian Larry the Cable Guy, May 16th. Comedian Trevor Wallace, June 27th. Comedian Mark Normand, July 12th. Dinner and drinks before the show. ParksCasino.com to buy tickets for all show. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. There you go. See, the problem with Tyler, if you were to go to Parks Casino, he is a degenerate slot player. He would probably miss the MMA fight.
Man, don't be telling people that. My wife's going to listen. She'll be like, wait, what? Is that where all our money's at?
I was out in Vegas. It was the Chris Weidman, Anderson Silva. Glenn Foley's coming up in a second. Chris Weidman, Anderson Silva MMA match. I was out there doing Radio Row broadcast with Sean Brace. And so we stay for the fight. And I bet on Weidman. In large part, I heard an interview with him on Jim Rome. And I was like, this dude's going to win. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. So I put and he was a pretty big underdog. I don't even know how much. It was like $100 on him to win. And I lose the betting ticket. You can bring on G Foles right now because he's the degenerate gambler. So G Foles, I lose my betting ticket before the match even starts. And I realize it. And I'm like, holy Christ. So I Google it, and it's like, well, you can go to the window, and as long as the ticket hasn't been cashed, they'll find that it's you or whatever, and they'll pay you. So I'm like, cool. My brother-in-law is like, don't go now. Just wait, because if he loses, like the fight's about to start. If he loses, it doesn't even matter. So I'm like, all right. So he wins. So I booked down to the freaking sports book, which is all the way across the MGM. And if you've been to Vegas, that's like a 15-minute walk. It's not a 2-minute walk, right? So I go down to the sports book. I say, this is the time I placed the ticket because I was able, based on a text message, I knew the window I went to. I knew what time I placed the wager. So the sports book guy's like, I'm too busy. You got to wait. Give me like a half hour. So an hour later, I'm back up being like, dude, please. So he goes back. He checks. He's like, yup. He's like, okay, I see you. I see what time it is. Let me check the computer. Ticket was cashed.
Ooh.
I lost like $1,200.
That's awful. That's awful.
But you know what? It makes a great story.
Yeah, and not nearly as great as the story as when I was winning at blackjack at Trump, believe it or not, and we would always meet at Delilah's afterwards, and then I don't know how much I won at least 10 grand, and my one buddy took off. I meet him at Delilah's. I'm like, "Where's my money?" He goes, "Oh, I don't know. It's just no, you didn't win anything." I'm like, "What?" It was like 10 grand gone at Delilah's. It was like only like a half hour after he left too, so there was some shadiness down there. But Delilah's is it still there, Marksy? You would know.
What, Trump?
No, Delilah's.
What, in Philly or down in Atlantic City?
Atlantic City.
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. No, I would not know. What are you talking about? I'm not a strip club guy. When they paid me, I used to go to strip clubs. I was in a strip club with Harry Mays, the Penthouse Club, the night that Mike Vick went to Deshaun Jackson on the first play of the game. I was in the Penthouse Club for an appearance that night. That's about. I think it's the last strip club appearance I did too that night. It was I was like, no more of this stuff anyway. G Foles, just like we drew it up, an absolute 34-0 in the third quarter. How early did you know that this game was going to be different than a lot of us thought? Like you and I thought it was going to be a relatively close game. When did you know that this was potentially a blowout?
Well, it was the DeJean turnover. It was the pick six. When that happens, and it happened, believe me, I'm not going to compare myself to Patrick Mahomes, but when the defensive line, I forgot to turn it all off, Marcy. That's wifey calling. It was the DeJean pick, but she'll call back too. Let me turn this phone off.
You can send her a text message saying that you're
no. But what happens is when you see a defense and they're coming at you, the MVP is the defensive line. MVP of the game is the defensive line. Absolutely. Mahomes they were getting home with 4 rushers. When they blitzed, it was over. Mahomes had nowhere to go, but what Mahomes could have done to save himself, and this happened to me in Chicago. I got sacked 7 times in the first half of the game. And it was because you can't come off the sideline and say, "Hey, coach, our offensive line's getting their asses kicked," because then your offensive line gets mad, and then it's mayhem. So you're sitting there, and I actually, the defense is playing good. Okay, Kansas City's defense is playing good.
Yeah, it was.
You rope-a-dope. One thing you can't do when your offensive line is getting killed is turn the ball over. He made 2 really bad turnovers. When the pick 6, that was it. The game was over because as well as the Eagles' defense was playing, they weren't going to score more than 20. They got some cheap ones at the end, but that game was over. It was really over once he turned it over. The first turnover was over, but then the pick 6, it was game, set, match.
Yeah, the first possessions for the Chiefs, they got that first down. I don't think they had another first down the whole first half. So they go four plays punt, 3 and out, interception return, 3 and out, interception on the first play, 3 and out. That's a half. Yeah. That's Pat Mahomes. I mean, you got to be kidding me. And when they showed the sideline, Mahomes looked like Mahomes knew, like they knew it. The offensive line was like, we're in trouble. But Andy Reid didn't change anything, man. Like it was like this. They kept running the same play over and over and over again. And then they came out and they're like, oh, well, we'll run a couple times early in the second half. Early on, the fact that, and Glenn, you as being a quarterback, how difficult is it to get that kind of pressure without blitzing anybody? To have over a 50% pressure rate on the quarterback without blitzing. How difficult is it to do that? And that's what the Eagles did in the first half.
It's the most helpless feeling in the world as a quarterback. There's nothing you can do. And when you can't, and my answer is always run the ball. But when you're getting -1, -2, -1, you can't do that either. That what we talked about last time we talked, Marcy, about the Eagles just stomping people out because they're that good. The Chiefs were basically a 16-1 team. You know, they gave a game at the end of the year, but this is how good they were. This is how good the Eagles are, and that's why I wondered last time we talked, why aren't they stomping more people out? Why aren't there more 40-10 games? And the way the Eagles run the ball and control the clock is the name of the game. So when they were able to do that so well, they weren't thrashing people, but they were made to throw the ball a little bit, and you saw Dotson, you saw them all. You saw Smith, you saw Brown, all of them contributing because Spags tried to blitz them, and then your MVP, other than the line, is obviously the quarterback. Hurts had a great game. His passing percentage is unbelievable. He's hitting guys during the blitz when they're open. So he came to play. Big game by Hurts, big game by the defensive line, huge game by the offense. It was an overall stomping, and the Eagles could have been doing that all year. It's hard to do it, though, when you're controlling the line of scrimmage so easily. So right. It's hard to why would you throw it again? We talked about this. Why would you throw it 30 times and want A.J. Brown to have 17 touchdown catches when you can do it on the ground and hold the ball and not let the other team score?
Glenn, it's so easy I don't think. I mean, teams haven't run the ball like this in a number of years. It became so pass happy. But when you're not having the success running the ball, it's so easy to go away from it. And I think that was something that we saw a lot from Andy and Doug, and maybe even Sirianni when he was calling plays, which was, oh, you got 3 yards. Oh, you didn't get a yard on. Oh, we're going to throw. I was so impressed with Kellen Moore. He didn't care if they were getting 2 yards a carry or 3 yards a carry. It still set him up for second and 7 instead of 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 10. So even if you had a 3rd and 5 or a 3rd and 6, and the Chiefs couldn't stop playing the run because they came into the game and said, we're not going to let Saquon beat us. But the fact they kept running it 25 times for 57 yards, they had very little success running the ball. But I was so impressed that Kellen Moore didn't go away from it and kept running the ball. And the Chiefs were like, well, they're running the ball. We can't worry about the other stuff. How difficult is it in a game as a quarterback, as an offensive play caller, to not go away from something that's not working and to continue to run the ball even though you're not having success?
Well, you had the intangibles. I think Hurts ran for 75 too. So so now you got a guy running for the team runs for 150 yards. So that's why they're so dynamic. And I think as you're going to look down the future, the best teams in the league, and people thought the Chiefs were one of them, but ultimately the Ravens were probably better. You're going to see teams start to beef up on the offensive lines and the defensive lines and go less with wide receivers. And unless you're a stone cold quarterback, you're going to take the big guy instead. We talked about the league going towards the Army-Navy way, and that's kind of what it's doing. And then, but Howie, I think Howie and Lurie deserve MVP and whatever they call execs of the year. I mean, and you can go back, forget about this year's draft. Look at Mailata. I mean, remember when Mailata got here? Everyone's like,
Seventh round pick.
What are they doing with Mailata? And all of a sudden, this guy's a train. And then Becton, but then all of a sudden, the offensive line coach and the whole, just the way the society they've created within the locker room, Sirianni should be due for some large money here, and it's in a time when they're not giving out big contracts to coaches. Sirianni's going to get one, and it's well deserved. However, Howie and Jeffrey are the ones that put this thing together. Now they went when they had to throw it. You know, you got guys wide open. Dotson's wide open for the first big play of the game through the game. And I said last week that the air game will be the key for the Eagles, and it happened to work out that way.
Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Alex Hunt, first 3 picks this year, and DeJean has a pick 6. But not only that, like this dude, I don't know if you've ever seen his high school basketball highlights. This dude's dunking over fools as a white guy, going behind the back in game. I mean, dunking on a 12-foot net. This dude's got athleticism, and he's smart. And Quinyon Mitchell, you even notice him because they don't even throw at him. Those wide receivers, and Mahomes obviously wasn't seeing the field well, because when you're pressured all the time, now you're sensing the pressure on pretty much every play. So even if there was a receiver that was open, he wasn't going to be able to find him. But then you go to Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, and then you have Jordan Davis, and I know he hasn't been great. Cam Jurgens, the Kobe Dean. And then you have DeVonta Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams, the first 3 picks in 2021.
Milton had 3 sacks. I mean, what they're doing in the front office in Philly is checking for steroids, brain steroids. But yeah, I want to drug test Howie and his staff, because what they're doing is unbelievable, and everything they're doing, they're touching is turning to gold. Now, how they're going to keep these guys and the staff, and imagine having Frank Reich in your back pocket as a possible replacement. Now, if he comes in, they're not going to skip a beat. They're going to lose some players. They're going to have to pay some players. So, and if I'm Hurts, I'm thinking about renegotiating a contract to keep some of these guys in. This is what you're doing. You can't break this dynasty up. There's nothing like this. Keep the O-line together if you can, and then this team could do it another 2 or 3 years. These guys can three-peat if they can. I don't know how much longer Lane can last, because he's a big part of it. But if they can replace these offensive linemen as they disappear, they can three-peat.
And there's no reason to believe they won't, right? Like, that's kind of what they do. It's a next guy up mentality. It's tough to replace a Lane Johnson when he decides to hang it up. But all right, last thing, and this is now we're going to take our first question into what the Eagles do in the postseason, and we'll talk about this more coming up. But so you're not going to be able to pay everybody. You saw after the last Super Bowl, guys, they cash in. Vaitai went to Detroit, and Vaitai's been very good in Detroit too. Like, that wasn't a bad, that was a good signing by Detroit. But these guys are going to get paid. I don't think you're going to be able to re-sign Williams and Sweat. And, Zach Baun, who the Eagles have not valued linebackers as far as paying them. Zach Baun might, except for Jalen Carter, might have been their best defensive player, or probably was their best defensive player this year, or was their best defensive player this year. If you're keeping one of the 3, Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Zach Baun, Glenn Foley, who's the one player you're keeping?
Milton Williams, because you could put anybody behind those monsters in the front. Baun had a great year, great player. He's not even a natural middle linebacker. You could probably get a late first round or early second round, third round middle linebacker to play behind those guys. So I think Baun can go. Sweat's the same way. You have so much meat in the middle that you have to three offensive linemen have to go to 2 guys, and then so those other 3 they can roam free. But I don't want to give up Milt. I want Milt. I want those other 2 monsters from Georgia in there, and then we can fill in the other guys.
Glenn Foley. Now, you weren't at Larry's tailgate on Super Bowl Sunday. You were at home.
Well, we were trying to do live from Lot P, but they wouldn't let us in the gate. It was locked. But we went down there anyway. No one was there. No one was in the parking lot, but we got swept away. But no, I went to my mom's, had a great time. But I bought some I went and got Bricko Pizza straight out of Westmont, New Jersey, one of the great pizza spots in South Jersey.
Oh, so you're home. Going to the parade, taking any of the kids to the parade on Friday?
You got to be out of your freaking mind if you think I'm going to the parade. That's like the parade. If you go to the parade and you live, good luck. Good luck to you. That's you know what I found out, Marcy. The younger we were really dumb, and we did some stupid things back in the early 2000s. These kids they're trying to go next level and outdo everything that the stupidity of the past. So what I'm seeing down there isn't just dumb; it's dangerous. So someone's definitely going to die at the parade. There's no doubt.
Everybody's videoing from their phone, so they have to do stuff that's cool, to see. So we didn't have that. You're right. Yeah. We were just idiots.
Right. Someone's going to get blown up on camera. Again, mark my words. Someone will. Oh, yeah, the Eagles, and then you run down the street, and all of a sudden, boom, and it's going to be on fire. It's going to go awfully wrong. You know it, Marksy. But it'll only be. You know what's weird? This would be my last thing. As wacky as the Philly fans are, as long as you're wearing green and something Philly, you're good, man. It's like a Grateful Dead concert. Your good vibes are great until you get to like that hour before the game. Then it's every man for himself. But good vibes in Philly as long as you're wearing their gear.
All right, brother. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, peace. Let's go. Now we got draft next.
We got draft next, and we got pitchers and catchers, brother. You're a Phillies guy. You're a baseball guy. We're gonna be talking baseball with you soon.
There's no doubt. Me and you were taking the kids to the Fanatic. I got the Fanatic lined up.
Boom. All right, I'm in.
Peace.
All right, there he is. G-Foles and your P-holes. Gun Foley. Coming up. The Swifties are out in full effect in defense of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. But are they somewhat justified in this? So we'll discuss the whole thing coming up here. And also a Philly fun fact. All next. Philly, John Marks. PHLY. Hoo-ah. Don't go anywhere. You with a leaky pipe, right? I mean a leaky pipe. We're not talking about doctors here. Ace Hardware Home Services. Around the block with everything you need to fix it now, including the person to do the fixing. If you have any type of an issue, air conditioning, heating, plumbing, seasonal maintenance, installation, upgrades, repairs, they're bringing understanding, listening to your goals, and the job isn't completed until you are satisfied. Ace Hardware Home Services. Ace Hardware Home Services, the power of the Ace brand, striving to be the best, most trusted provider of home preservation services. A wide range of residential maintenance, installation, home repair services are available, including plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical. Free estimates on equipment installation and replacement with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for your home and your budget. Emergency services are available for when you need them most. Service you can trust. Satisfaction is guaranteed. With Ace, they're going to make it right no matter what. AceHardwareHomeservices.com. That's how you get a hold of them. AceHardwareHomeservices.com. All right, Rothman. I get excited when I talk about Rothman because now I can go and I can work out a little bit. And my shoulder's not screwed up, right? A couple years ago, I ended up having what they diagnosed as a frozen shoulder. Went to Rothman Orthopedics after like a year of hoping it was going to go away. Well, it didn't go away. Went to Rothman. In one appointment, I was like, but I'm going to have to get an MRI and cortisone shots. And if it's my rotator cuff, one appointment at Rothman, diagnosed with a frozen shoulder. Wrote me a script for physical therapy, which was it's right there at Rothman. I don't have to go anywhere. Right at Rothman in Limerick. And within 6 weeks, they discharged me. Boom, done. Shoulder has been fine ever since. So if you're in pain, right, and that's the great thing with Rothman, they have a doctor that's laser focused on their specialty. Hip, knee, spine, you name it. They have a team for each body part. Right in your backyard. You don't have to travel into the city. Rothman is all over our area. They specialize in you. So if you have a hip problem, knee problem, spine, shoulder, elbow, foot, ankle, hand, wrist, sports medicine, physical medicine, and rehab, orthopedic oncology, trauma, fracture care, Rothman proudly serves dozens of communities across Pennsylvania and New Jersey with 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. Yeah, the urgent care up by me, instead of having to go to like my regular urgent care, Rothman urgent care. If you have something that's going on, sprained ankle, knee, whatever, Check them out. RothmanOrtho.com/PHLY. RothmanOrtho.com/PHLY to learn more and to make an appointment today. There you go. All right. So what do we have here? So I hadn't even considered the Swiftie factor. First of all, Tyler Zuli, are you? I know you're not technically a Swiftie, but are you like? Do you like Taylor Swift? Are you a fan of her music?
Yeah. I mean, it's not my go-to genre,
but she's fine, right?
But yeah, I have no problems. Yeah. I think she's an excellent businesswoman. I mean, she's unbelievable at what she does.
All right, you have the Beatles, you have Michael Jackson, you have Taylor Swift. And then there's everybody else. And Taylor Swift might be.
I would add Beyonce to that list.
Okay. But that's like
but
Beyonce.
You know what I'm saying? Like it transcends music into not just like superstardom, but business and all the offsets of business and things like that. Yeah, I would add Beyonce to that list, but yes, I get your point.
Biggest stars of all time, right? Like I don't know how you would compare the Beatles and the impact and Taylor Swift being where they are, but and like my kids are like Taylor Swift, and I'm like, all right, name your second favorite Taylor Swift song, and then they have to think about it for a second. And my 3-year-old Taylor Swift, and it's like all right, Bella, Taylor Swift. But anyway, like yes, and I was the same way with Michael Jackson. When I was in second grade, I had a Michael Jackson pin that I had on my shirt that I would wear to school. And that was the Thriller album. But like it was just like Michael Jackson was cool. I don't know if I really, really appreciated his music. But anyway, so the Chiefs lose, and I'll just tell you, I enjoyed the hell out of Taylor Swift getting booed on the Jumbotron just for her reaction. I've had enough of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I'm finished with it. I'm done. So apparently Swifties have attacked CJGJ's mom's restaurant. Yes, Gardner Johnson's mom has a restaurant in Rockledge, Florida. It's called King's Grill. We'll have to check. Tyler, can you pull up the menu and give us a sampling of the menu that we can get at King's Grill? But apparently Swifties are leaving fake bad reviews to his mom's restaurant. This is pretty funny. Many of the negative comments took aim at the restaurant's alleged terrible customer service and below average food, neither of which are legitimate reviews, which happened also right after the Super Bowl. How convenient.
Yeah, so it looks like it's, honestly, it looks like it's a little bit of everything. You got a little, I'm looking at Philly cheesesteak, burgers, wings, shrimp po' boy, fish sandwiches.
So it's like it's a good grill.
Yeah,
they have
it's
a lot of
little bit of everything. Looks like they got a lot of fish options, but looks like a little bit of everything. Yep.
All right. I am not a 3.3. See, I'm on Yelp, so I don't know if there were bad Yelp reviews because frankly, DoorDash has 50 reviews with a 4.6. You would actually need to do a delivery from DoorDash. Yeah, so this looks like a good menu, right? So you may say, "Oh, you Swifties, you guys are maniacs." Which, by the way, we know that Swifties are maniacs, and don't mess with Taylor Swift or you mess with the Swifties. And like, okay, all right, I get it. But I have to ask this question: are the Swifties justified in this particular instance? And let me explain. And honestly, like, of course, the mom wasn't involved, and they shouldn't be trying to attack her business. However, CJGJ threw shade on Jason Kelce and Taylor Swift on an Instagram story post after the game. His message appeared to be a reference to to Travis Kelce's ex, Kayla Nicole, the one that he dumped and cheated on, I guess. He posted a photo of him taunting the Chiefs tight end during the Super Bowl, standing in front of him with his hands behind his back. The story is accompanied by the song Murder Business by rapper Youngboy, Never Broke Again, and was captioned, "Should have stayed with that thick bleep," a reference to the ex-girlfriend. It went viral. He deleted it. But are we going to, clearly we knew what he was saying, right? Like, we're not going to, Tyler, and I know you're not. I didn't even know who, honestly, I didn't even know that was Serena. Like, I didn't realize Serena Williams was at the halftime show for Drake because it was I had no idea what was going on. I don't even know Kendrick Lamar. I didn't know what he looked like. So I'm not telling you I know anything about popular culture. But we agree we knew, like CJGJ, what he was doing. He was taking a shot at Travis Kelce, and he was using his ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
In that. Okay. So, let me ask you a question. It's like with Philly fan, all the like the Niners fans, or if you come from out of town and you go to a game and you're going to get drunk and you're going to stand up and be like, you're not going to intimidate me, Philly fan. I'm sitting here and I'm going to cheer for my fan, and you poke the bear. You know what's going to happen, and it doesn't make it right, but you know what's going to happen, right? So if you do that on social media, guess what's going to happen? These loser Swiftie fans are going to do everything in their power to make your life miserable. And that's what they did with your mom's restaurant. So you, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, should be apologizing to your mother for taking an unnecessary and cheap shot at Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce doesn't deserve to have a cheap shot like that. That was totally out of line and in poor taste for CJGJ to do that. And he deleted it, which is fine. Like, we know that we love CJGJ for his personality and his energy and stuff like that. He's also been known to be an idiot, and that was an unnecessary post.
Listen, I think two things. I take two things from this, and I think it was a stupid post. Like, it shouldn't have had. Like, he should have stayed away from it. I agree. I think it was just a dumb post. I also think it's ridiculous that people are trying to ruin a woman's place of business because of said post. Right? Like, CJGJ's mom should not be caught in the aftermath of an admittedly dumb post. This woman did nothing as a part of this whole ordeal. And now her livelihood, because Yelp reviews and those type of reviews are important to businesses, especially small businesses, locally owned businesses like this restaurant is. You know, if I Google, a restaurant, it comes up 2.2 stars. I'm probably like, I'm not going, right?
I agree.
That's not fair to his mom for her trying to operate her business, and run it successfully. So I think both things can be true. Like, it was dumb. It was a stupid post, and they're taking this way too far with trying to attack this woman's livelihood and restaurant.
Well, then, and from this has happened before, you can get those reviews taken off, right? You can get them if you can prove that it was like, this clearly didn't happen. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, I'm not, she does not deserve this. And these Swiftie people are losers. And I think we already knew that coming in here. All I'm saying is, CJGJ, use your head. Realize that for every action, there is a reaction. And you got a Swiftie reaction. And also, like, all right, dude, like, really, you're going to, like moms, someone said in the chat, moms are off limits. You really have to do that. You really have to go after the girlfriend. And listen, Travis Kelce has made the decision to date Taylor Swift, and this is what comes with it. I was actually saying this to Tyler before the show, because now is Travis Kelce going to retire? And it's like, and I don't think he's going to retire, because, like, I think you need to know in your head, like, this is my final year, and I don't think he's there yet. Jason Kelce played one more year. It feels like he's going to play one more year. You don't want to lose like this. But it really, like, mentally, he must be really weighed down right now. Being Taylor Swift's boyfriend, I mean, I would be totally and mentally exhausted with the whole thing. I'm sure by the end of the season and the Super Bowl and everything else, I'm sure that he is mentally worn down. So I want him to, like, retire on his own terms, and then him and Taylor Swift can break up and he can go find some other hoochie with a big butt and date her and marry her and stuff and have kids. All right, there you go. I have a Philly fun fact. How about this? DeVonta Smith is the 5th player who has won a Heisman Trophy, a national championship in college, and a Super Bowl. The 4 others were, Tyler Zurley put you on the spot. There were 4 others that have done this. 3 running backs, so 1 defensive back.
I'm going to tell you this now. I've seen this question, so I know I remember most of the answers to this question.
All right, so who you remember?
Marcus Allen is on the list.
USC.
Tony Dorsett, I believe, is also on the list.
Pitt Panther, Dallas Cowboys, yep.
And then I didn't know it was a D tackle. I thought
defensive player, not a
defensive player. Excuse
tackle.
me. All right. And then Charles Woodson is the other one.
Charles Woodson's is the corner / safety. So the other one, and this is, I never thought of the question before I read it, but you're like, yeah, he did win a Super Bowl. You forget he was on that team, because the team was good, but they only had that one Super Bowl they were in that they won. So he was on a team that won and appeared in one Super Bowl and won one Super Bowl. Running back. One of the best college players, if not the best college player ever.
Oh, so you know what? This is why I couldn't think. This is why I was trying to figure out who the fourth one is, because I believe, if we're on the same page, this is a guy who, for a long period of time, had his Heisman Trophy taken away from him. He should have gotten it back years ago, but he finally got it back. I believe, what was it? Maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Last year, yes. Or so.
Reggie Bush is the other one.
Yep. Reggie was a really good play. I mean, maybe he didn't live up to the NFL expectation, but.
Well, I think he had a couple 1,000-yard seasons, didn't he?
I don't think he's a borderline Hall of Famer, but he's close.
Well, he's definitively a college football Hall of Famer. There's no question about it.
He's for sure. That Vince Young Texas against Reggie Bush USC. You talk about the town on the freaking teams, man.
Still to this day, the best national championship I've ever seen was that game.
God, man, what a game!
Well, and you know what the problem is too. So he gets drafted 4th overall or 5th overall, something like that. Second overall in 06. And he never ran for more than 580 yards in New Orleans. And then he goes to Miami. He has 1,086, 986, and then 1,006 in his first year in Detroit. So he basically had 3 straight seasons. I mean, 986, he fell just short, but 3 straight seasons of 1,000 yards. So no, I mean,
he's not borderline Hall of Fame, but he was
an underwhelming NFL career. But when you think of Reggie Bush, you do think of one of the most electrifying college football players of all time. I mean, the play that stands out to me, I don't know if you remember it, was he's running down the sideline. He stops on a dime, puts the ball behind his back, transfers hands behind his back, and takes off and scores. I don't know if you remember that play or not, but that's the one that's burned in my brain when I think of Reggie Bush.
The thing that's burned in my brain from Reggie Bush is Kim Kardashian. One of the first things I think of when I venture outside of football, which a lot of times I do. He was with Kardashian for a while there, and that was post playing at USC, I believe. All right, so listen. We have when you win championships, all right, and we just won a championship. You know what follows that? Merch. That's right, merch. Right now at allphly.com. Look at this. The gold standard collection. Look, man, I love the it's not and I have bad eyes. I'm looking at the picture. It's a Philly thing, not a Philly thong. It's a Philly thing is what that t-shirt says right there. World champs, birds, awesome. Love it. Allphly.com if you want to score one of these, scoop up one of these t-shirts. You got to get the merch. Got to get the merch and start right here. Allphly.com to get the merch. Also, at allphly.com, you can subscribe to the All PHLY Daily, which is essentially your morning sports page. Rich Hoffman Jr., and man, he spends a lot of time. He compiles it. He gets every story, every clip, everything that's on the internet. He doesn't sleep because he's getting you everything condensed and concise in a PHLY Daily email. Boom. Every morning. About 7:30, he gets it out there. Everything you need to know, and it's a good one today, and it's a lot today. So get it. Subscribe, allphly.com, and you can get that.
I do want to say something about the one shirt because it now has the 2 Lombardis, because the conversation for the Eagles fans for years was, well, you don't have any Super Bowls, right? And then they win one, and it's like, well, you only have 1 Super Bowl. And then now the conversation is going to be, well, you're still in last in the division. But, John, I will say this. They're 1 away from tied with Washington now.
Yeah.
They're better than Washington. Now, Washington played really well. They exceeded expectations. I think Jaden Daniels is going to have that team ready to be good for a long time. But they're 1 away from Washington now. They're creeping on the heels of all these teams. Not Dallas, but creeping on the teams, on the heels of some of the other 2 teams in the division.
Yeah, but so Dallas, and it's odd because I was deep in I was like 2 a.m. after they won the Super Bowl. I was deep in Cowboys Twitter, and yesterday I saw some Giants Twitter as well. And by the way, if you're watching on TV, shift on over to allphly.com to watch the rest of the show. But yeah, I like. Here's the reaction I got from the other NFC's fans and media, and this was from the fans. Like, oh no. You gave the Eagles another Super Bowl. Their fans are going to be insufferable. Yep, we are. Because it does. The guy that has the 0 Super Bowl, the license plate guy or whatever, that loser Giant fan, he's got nothing now. He's got nothing. I don't care how many Super Bowl the Giants have. Like you think Cowboys fans are counting the Super Bowls from the 90s anymore? No. You know what they're doing? They're actually happy the Eagles won because it shoves it up the nose of Jerry Jones and the Maras and everything else, John Mara and Tisch, because those franchises are bad. And their ex-players, like Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman, Amani Toomer said it yesterday, Michael Strahan, all those guys are like, your organization's terrible. What are you guys doing? Like, we're watching the Eagles school you, literally take your lunch money and shove you in a locker. That's what the Eagles are doing to the Cowboys and the Giants right now. Washington's got a quarterback. So, you get a quarterback and you have a good organization, they're going to be fine with Jaden Daniels. These other organizations are bad. So, I saw a lot of, man, I wish we were the Eagles. Man, Howie Roseman. Man, Jeffrey Lurie. And it's true. It is. Winning a Super Bowl is one thing. It doesn't mean your organization is great and you're able to sustain it. The one thing the Eagles haven't been able to do is sustain it. They go down for a year and they come back up. Now, they went to a Super Bowl, they flamed out, and then they won a Super Bowl. So what does that mean for 2025? We're going to find out. And we'll talk about that obviously coming up in the next weeks and months leading into next season. But it is it's really interesting to see the reaction of everybody involved in the NFC East here. And also, I heard Cowherd say this yesterday on his show, Colin Cowherd on his show, where other teams react based on to what the good teams are doing in the NFL, right? So I remember Ray Rhodes and the Eagles drafted Bobby Taylor in the second round in 1995 based on the Cowboys having Michael Irvin. And Michael Irvin was the big, tall receiver, physical receiver. And they said, we need a big corner to face Michael Irvin twice a year. And Bobby Taylor, 6'2", lanky, not about speed, but he was physical. And he was a great player, and he really matched up really well against. So you draft players specifically because you say, all right, what can we do to combat what the Eagles are doing? So now with Washington and the Commanders, don't the Commanders have to be super aggressive and go out? Would anybody be surprised if Deebo Samuel was in Washington next year, or if Myles Garrett was in Washington next year?
John, I thought Deebo Samuel was going to be in Washington this year. I thought when the trade conversations came up, Washington made so much sense. Young quarterback, give him another. And the thing with Deebo Samuel is he's a weapon, right? He's a good receiver, but he's excellent out of the backfield. Yeah. He's excellent in that orbit motion stuff. You get him in space. He's that type of guy that is just a space wrecker, right? You give him a little bit of availability, and he creates. And so I thought it made so much sense for Washington. Now, the 49ers ended up not trading him, but I could definitely see those two teams revisiting a conversation this offseason. I think the Commanders are going to invest in the tight end position because I don't know how much longer Zach Ertz is going to be readily available.
Maybe draft tight end.
I've been saying Tyler Warren to them for a long time. I'm not sure he's there.
They have to trade up.
I'm not sure
a top
he's going to be there, but it makes a ton of sense. But Loveland from Michigan. But I think Deebo makes a ton of sense for Washington. It did last year, and I think it does this year.
They're going to be good. I don't need to see Myles Garrett twice a year every year. If I'm Washington, do I think about it? It's going to cost you. Forget about the money. It's going to cost you big-time draft picks. All right, shout out to everybody watching on YouTube live or whenever. Smash that subscribe button if you already haven't. Follow us as we're gaining subscribers, and we're building an online community on Philly with John Marks on PHLY. Like, comment, my personal YouTube, my personal Instagrams and Twitters and everything else, at John, Jon Marks, Marks Media, at John Marks Media. Follow, subscribe, email me, say hello. Anthony is next. He's already live, so switch on over to him. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 8 a.m. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.